Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. We want to talk about hot topics tonight. Tonight is just me and Danny. Danny Sneed in the studio. Danny wants to give a celebratory view of the champs, the Houston Astros. So
hey,
tonight we want to say,
Astros?
how about those Stros? So world champion. Isn't that amazing? It gave the city so much to be thankful for because we're still recovering from the hurricane. My place of business was destroyed. We are in temporary quarters, and so, you know, the city is still hurting. So we just want to say, how about those Stros? You've made Houston proud, Houston strong. We're excited to be the 2017 World Champions. So we're excited about that. But let's get back to Truth and Justice. And tonight we're here to talk about the hot topics. So the hot topics in the news tonight. We're reeling about the NFL, we're reeling about Charlottesville, we're still reeling about Las Vegas, and then, sadly, Sutherland Springs, Texas. And let's just talk about that. We'd love for you to call us. We haven't heard from you lately, 713-807-1794. Call us and give us your opinion. So, Danny, what are you thinking about the NFL? It's nothing new. I think we started with kneeling as in prayer and protest to the injustices of the world last year with Kaepernick.
Right. Well, the NFL. It all started in San Francisco when Colin Kaepernick saw what was going on in society. He saw how a certain demographic of people, i.e. black and brown people, were being targeted. Seemingly unjustly in these video recorded episodes of having contact with the police. Now, my lying eyes were seeing something different than the results. Right. And I'm seeing in real time people engaging in the police in a manner that not provoking them to be shot and killed. And the results are there's nobody being held accountable for it. And this is on the heels of the Trayvon Martin case and the Eric Garner case. And so just when we thought maybe society was self-aware and maybe the police would take a step back, seemed like they put their foot on the gas. Right. And basically, I believe they saw that that there was not a system in place that was going to hold them accountable. And if we want to go even farther back, we can look at the Rodney King tape and say, isn't that where it all started? With a video recording, a private citizen recording something, and we never, ever actually got a chance to. We knew in the black community these things were going on because it had happened to us or someone we knew. But we couldn't convince people that hadn't had that experience that these things were out, that were not made up. But when they saw it in real time, they still found a way to explain away the officer's behavior and not hold anybody accountable.
Well, what that did was it gave, starting with Rodney King, it gave everyday citizens, black and white and brown, the opportunity to see how black people can perceive things one way, and whether we tell the story, because we were just naive enough to think as black people, they really just don't believe us because they can't believe that there could be road cops that would violate people's civil rights. They just didn't believe that. But once it was on tape with Rodney King and there was a trial and those officers were basically acquitted in state court, we got to really be face to face with the real injustices of America. And the young people got to see that. And now with the advent of everybody having a handheld camera at the ready, young people are now realizing that, dang, my life doesn't matter. And it's like everybody, at least in the Martin Luther King days, our white brothers and sisters listened to our plea and our problems. Now it's like, what I'm offended by as a 59-year-old is some of our white brothers and sisters telling us what we mean. So I'm offended that when Kaepernick takes a knee to injustice because he has a platform in which people can see it and think about it, some of my white brothers and sisters are saying, oh, no, that's not why he's taking a knee. He's not taking a knee to injustice. He's taking a knee because he's disrespecting the flag. And just so you'll know, I looked it up. the federal law says that it's advisory that you stand up for the national anthem, but it's not required and it's not punishable. That is actually codified, written in a statute and a code. It cannot be punished because of freedom of expression and freedom of speech. It cannot be punished. I've looked it up. So I just would believe that Colin Kaepernick's NFL contract does not address whether or not he has to stand or kneel to the national anthem. So I actually support him in suing the NFL.
Yeah, but here's a hypocrisy. We have a country that says that the Second Amendment is very important.
Right.
And no matter how many times we see guns that people hold harm people, they still are staunch about this may be happening over here, but the Constitution clearly says we have a right to bear arms. That point I agree. But when it comes to the freedom of speech that's written in the Constitution, which Colin Kaepernick has the right to do, they take that right away and don't bring up that this is his constitutional right to protest in a peaceful way, and he's not breaking any law, but they still find a way to demonize, villainize, and almost criminalize his behavior. Because this administration in office now, if they had the power, they would create laws, and you will probably get some kind of fine, punishment if they could do it for not standing up during the national anthem.
But then they have a lot of photographs of this administration not putting their hand over their heart. There's a lot of photographs where the national anthem has been, we've seen it, and nothing happened. The other thing that I'm a little bit, I'm disturbed about is the NFL owner, the Texans, who said we cannot have the prisoners running the inmates running the prison.
Right.
Because that's basically what they did to Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
It might not be in your contract. We don't care, but we're just going to blackball you.
Right.
Because otherwise, you're the prisoner. So why are the owners identifying with the police officers who are violating people's civil rights? It's only a few minuscule number of officers who violate people's civil rights. So why do the masses support those minuscule rogue police officers who are not following police procedure? Because police procedure does not allow you to violate anybody's rights. So why are the owners identifying with the rogue police officers is what I don't understand. As a Black American, I don't understand that.
Well, I see them fearing the movement. See, once a movement starts, it's almost hard to stop it. It's like when that water
But history has already shown that if you try to stop a movement, that's when the movement takes off.
Well,
so it seems
they hadn't figured it out.
It seems to me that you would just, if you don't want the movement to go, you would just leave it alone.
If this administration would have been smart, and we know this administration doesn't follow advice. They make decisions off the cuff and spontaneous. So
and then Fox News has to support it.
Right.
Has to figure out a way to support.
You know why they don't assassinate people anymore? No. Because they found out that when you kill someone, they become bigger in death than they did in life. That's why when you see people that are very outspoken and they don't try to kill them, they try to kill their ideas. They try to make what they're saying, change it, and demonize them, and that's what they did with Colin Kaepernick. So they saw this guy saying that we have to kill this idea in conversation that he started, because what if it catches on? What if other people see that this is a great way to protest? So what they did is said, okay, we're not going to address why he's doing it. We're going to say not what it's for, but what it's against. So they made his peaceful protest against injustice about disrespecting veterans that have served in the military. So they made it about us. And we like, why you bring us into it? What do we have to do with police officers killing
unarmed black
unarmed citizens?
Citizens, right.
Right. How does that have anything to do with the flag and veterans.
In fact, it's the opposite, because the flag and the veterans have fought for us to have freedom of expression.
To be able to do what he's doing.
Do that. That's what we've been taught all these years, and now the game changes because we have a new administration that wants to change the game because he wants to be a dictator, and he wants to dictate the law instead of follow the law and encourage other people to follow the law. How can we, under this administration, go to any other countries and tell them how to be free? Tell them how to create a constitution when we don't follow it ourselves? When we have a society now that says, I want to be the dictator. So how could we ever go now and tell someone how to, because you know, the United States goes and establishes other countries. You know, we decide who wins, and then we go in and try to help them write constitutions.
And they call it nationalism. And I looked at, what does that mean?
Who calls it nationalism?
Well, the movement, the people
movement?
that support Trump, they call them nationals. What they're saying is, we're just going to be for Americans now. We're too long have we opened up our borders for other, but this country is built on immigration, but now they're saying, oh, now that we here, let's not let anybody else in.
Right, because that's what we have to be honest about. We're a country of immigrants that have said no more people come in, because we're a country of immigrants. We can never deny that in our history.
And when your spouse is an immigrant, and then
two of the three of your spouse have been,
and you create policies against immigration, it's such a
hypocrisy. It's right in your face hypocrisy.
It's like, dude, do you realize that the people you're against have your last name? That you're undermining your own argument by how you live in your own life.
Well, he doesn't have to, because he has a whole news station that supports that. You know, when we grew up, there was Walter Cronkite, and there was
balanced reporting.
It was balanced reporting, but it was also not a profit center. So now it's for profit. The news is for profit when it became a 24-hour news cycle. So it wasn't for profit, so you had to be honest about it. So it's an amazing new world we live in. The new things about alternative facts, so a lie. I can tell lies, and I'll call it an alternative fact. No, it's not an alternative fact, it's a lie. And there's only one truth. Maybe there's different people's truths. I can see that, because we do have to collaborate and understand each other's point of view. But I don't know. Let's move on to Charlottesville. So you have a beef with Charlottesville. Tell me what is your beef about Charlottesville?
Well, what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia is, and the irony of Charlottesville, Virginia is, they had a big election, if anybody's been watching, in Virginia. And Virginia is really a blue historical state. So what does that mean? That means that most of the policies and the laws are geared towards more things that favor the disadvantaged people, the low-income people. They're going to create policies and laws that help you and not harm you. But for some reason, also in Virginia is a lot of white supremacist group that still believe that the South will rise again. And so this idea and this administration has given life to darkness, where the supremacist group had to operate in darkness. They had no platform. They couldn't come out and really do anything. They weren't supported. Well, this new administration gave to them approval, validation. Now it's okay to openly, publicly say what you feel about people that don't look like you, without the fear of any type of...
And relate your thoughts to Charlottesville.
Okay, so they came to Charlottesville. They had a permit to march. And they start marching, and where there's people that march to support hate, there's going to be some people that's going to protest against that hate. So when you look at that day they marched, it was like the police were saying, let them fight. It's like, let them fight and we'll break it up once they start fighting.
Well, they can't stop you for what you might do. So the police really are not a prevention. The police are paid to react.
Let Black Lives Matter organize something, and they say they're going to go to Pennsylvania Avenue, and they're going to carry weapons. They're going to carry signs. They're going to put on helmet gear,
well, maybe not
riot gear.
Avenue, because that's the.
Well, I'm embellishing it. I'm just saying.
Let's go back to Virginia. Would you think they could do it in Virginia?
Right. If they are, what they would do is, they would be out with their tanks. The National Guard would be there, and it would be a real big force of resistance, saying that if you guys even think about doing anything, it'll be a lot of arrests, and
I agree.
it'll be a horrible scene for a movement like Black Lives Matter. So what it is this organization came into town, all the flags are there, just saying, man, we live in a time in this country where the enemy is living off hate, and this administration is feeding it, and it's getting fat full every day by the policies and rhetoric that's coming out of this administration.
So what do you think we could do about it? I mean, what can the average person do about the hate that is being spewed in places like Charlottesville?
Speak against it.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't encourage someone to actually go out to a protest and confront someone.
I agree.
You know, because, and I don't agree in name calling. See, when you name call someone, you become more who they are than who you don't want to be like.
Right.
So telling someone, if they call you a name, you call them a name back, I agree with Trump in the same, both sides look like the same type of people in that. But if you respond in a positive way, well, not to that person, but the people around you in your lives and the people that you can reach, and you explain to them the condition, what it is to be Black in America, why Black Lives Matter, and try to have a conversation with people, and instead of hollering and screaming and name calling. And I definitely discourage using social media as a platform to express how you feel, because you're talking to an audience that feeds off negativity.
Well, especially the reason why social media is a bad place is because the trolls and the mean people have a huge voice there where they couldn't do it in person.
Right.
You know, they wouldn't say it to your face,
right.
But they say it behind your back, and that's why it's a bad platform.
I shy
and that's where
away.
fake news comes from. I mean, it's all the negative things that people get to put on social media. So I do agree with you. So let's move on from Charlottesville to Las Vegas.
So Las Vegas, what I saw in Las Vegas was not nothing new in America.
How many people did they say died in Las Vegas? Do you remember that? It was bad. The Charlottesville, okay, let's go back to Charlottesville and the death. There was one lady that died in Charlottesville. The thing that's always troubling is that some of our domestic terrorists are worse than the foreign terrorists. You know, some of the not people from Middle Eastern origin can be just as dangerous. I mean, I remember when Chris Rock had this joke that after Columbine that, you know, I'm scared of young white boys. I mean, you know, he made a joke about that because he said eventually kids, little white kids are gonna say, Mom, I wanna go to a black school where it's safe. Because these kids, I mean, some of these kids, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know what happened in Sutherland Springs, Texas last weekend. I don't know what's going on with all these mass murders.
But no matter how many...
And it doesn't even seem to be racial. I mean, the one in Las Vegas and Sutherland Springs, it wasn't like a racial new hate movement. It was just a hate movement. You know, it was just hate. I mean,
the irony is that a white guy will shoot up
a white church.
The Las Vegas, a country concert.
Oh, I know it. That's what I'm saying. It's not even like, at first, you know, like when the little crazy boy went and shot up the black church and he said this country is going to come to a race war. I was thinking there was some kind of secret rhetoric going around. But that's not who's getting, I mean, this past weekend, it was a white church, I guess, or a mixed church. And then
But do you see how hard? Do you see?
So it's not racial. It's just crazy.
But do you see how hard it's for this administration to explain the actions with someone that looks like them?
It's hard.
And if you listen to the language, he's described as a man. He had a mental problem, and I'm keep listening for the language, how they describe it. It's such a solemn, acceptable a way to describe a horrific event. Now, the average age of people in that church that died was 18 months.
They were little kids. It was awful.
And the outrage is not there. It's just not meeting the rage and the pushback is not meeting what actually happened. It's always almost out of the news already.
Right.
And the administration office don't even want to have a conversation about this. They say this is the wrong time to bring up gun issues when you have grieving people. Well, I believe, and I looked at it, I believe that the economics played a role in it, because these people that were killed are not considered, high class. He didn't go into the suburbs, into a big mass Catholic church and kill the Pope and a bunch of people like that. He's in a Baptist church in a town that had only one red light, backwoods of Texas. Okay, he killed some white people. Sad. Let's bury him. Nothing to see here, people.
I mean, the thing that's killing me about all these murders is we're killing children. I mean, Sandy Hook, they went into a school
and it's
and
okay.
killed babies.
And it's okay.
I mean, and at this church, they're killing babies.
No policies, no laws, no referendums, nothing changed
How
after Sandy Hook.
How can a person kill babies? I mean, first of all, this is one of the solutions. We can't stop people from being crazy. Apparently, we can't stop people from assault rifles. But what we can do is we can stop saying their names. Who cares who they are? Stop saying their names. To me, we need to start every January 1st, start naming them. Assassin number 1, murderer number 1, murderer number 2. They should just be called numbers. Nobody should even give them a name. They shouldn't even. Murder number 2, Las Vegas. Murder number 3, Sutherland Springs, Texas. Don't give them a name. Don't give them an identity.
Don't validate them.
Don't give them an identity. Who cares why they did it? Why? I mean, they're crazy. Let's focus on the 26 people that got killed in Sutherland Springs at a little church. Let's talk about the 58 people that got killed in Las Vegas. I don't even think we should validate them by even telling their names or showing their pictures. I don't think we should do it.
CNN have taken that position, and if you listen to them,
what position?
To not use their names or show their pictures of them.
I thought I was listening to CNN when I heard the name.
In context of something to try to get information out, because what they said to explain it and say this is the only reason why we're doing it, because we want to encourage people to bring information that may know something about this guy.
Okay.
That can give us more understanding in what he was thinking.
But why do we care what he's thinking?
Well, because
I mean, when people kill people,
they need justification with the answers.
The death penalty in Texas, we've killed more people than ever. Nobody cares why somebody black kills somebody. You killed them, you're a monster. So, and I agree. I mean, you're a monster if you kill somebody. I don't care what color you are. And these guys are monsters. Monster number 1, monster number 2.
I like that.
That's all we need. We don't need to know why. Who cares why? Who cares why somebody would assassinate 56 people or 58 people? Who cares? I mean, there's nothing. Even if we knew why, how is that going to stop us from the next one, the next crazy person? Because a person has a gun, an assault rifle. Anybody with an assault rifle can murder a whole bunch of people. Anybody can.
And our society saying that they don't have a problem, well, I won't say that.
Deer hunters don't use assault rifles to kill deer.
Well, they poll people on this issue, and the theory is, or the way they explain to keep gun laws from changing is, they tell people they want to take your guns away. So by telling people any changes in the gun laws will allow your guns to be taken away from you. So that's the rationalize the right uses to keep people from being open to changing some of the laws on who has access and how much weapons can one person legally have, and the type of weapon. See, if you have a gun to go pow, 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 well, you're not going to be able to keep going pow, pow, pow. Somebody going to rush you from the back. Everybody not going to stand around, wait till they turn like he got to reload. You going to wait till...
Right. But who in church is going to think somebody's going to come in there with a gun?
Well, you know, I grew up in a time where people brought guns to churches, and it wasn't because of the violence. It was because there has always been the threat of violence in churches, not just when someone... It'd probably be some family situations. You always
have seen... So your church growing up in Texarkana, people brought guns to church?
Every now and then, Sister Mary or Sister, she get in her feelings, she gonna have her little paw in her purse.
I never heard of that before.
Yeah, and then, you know, it kind of like you find out in the church that, man, did you know Sister such bought a gun? She bought a gun there. Yeah, man, she was hot. She said somebody say something to her today. it's gonna be on and popping.
I've never heard of that before.
Really?
And, thank God I grew up in San Antonio and not Texarkana, where we didn't bring guns to church.
Well, put up the call number, and if anybody out there has been in the church where somebody brought in a gun, call in and tell us about your experience where someone has brought a gun to church and they wasn't playing either.
Well, that guy did more than brought a gun. He brought an assault weapon.
What about these pastors that have bodyguards at the church? Now
Sounds like they need them.
But I didn't grow up in a church with a pastor preaching and the bodyguard standing up there on the side. Now I saw that in a church in Houston, Texas. I said, I can't. Wait a minute. I thought we have fear. How do you preach from the part of the Bible and say, you know what I'm saying? No, we don't live in fear. But where your faith at? You got to have an arm. What have you done that you need a bodyguard?
I don't know.
You ain't never been to a church where the pastor.
I mean, I've heard them say they have armor bearers, but I didn't think they really had arms.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to mention what security. We have security at our church.
Yeah, we do, because I thought the security at the churches was for the money, so that nobody robbed us of money. Because
why they gonna rob a bank? They gonna rob the church?
Yeah, of the money. And when they
upstairs?
No, when the collection is going on, somebody could come in and take the money, and the security guards at the church, the police officers, they actually go back in the back with the collection.
Well, I know they have to. Well, see, that's still crazy because when you grew up in church, nobody never worried about it.
They steal in church.
But you never know no church get robbed while the collection place is
No,
going
but
around.
I've known the people who worked there took some money.
Well, see, that's inside job.
Well, that's why you still have to have the police.
Oh.
Because the police is deterring that.
So the police got to watch the parishes.
Everybody who's dealing with cash money.
So Sutherland is supposed to be tied to domestic violence and mental health issues. Nothing to talk about guns in this situation. Now, the type of gun he used allowed him to kill more people. Now, if he had a mental problem and he wanted to kill people, but didn't have access to a gun that could kill a lot of people, then we wouldn't be talking about 26 people died.
Well, the worst thing about this guy is that he had already been convicted of violence and assaultive behavior
Against his family.
Against his family member when he cracked his son or stepson's skull, and actually did a year in prison in the Army.
Right.
And so
they didn't put him in the database.
They didn't put him in the database. So what's up with that?
Well, I think it goes back to who he was.
But he was nobody. He's not anybody special.
I still think that this country still looks at like if they can help each other, they help each other.
But why would you want to not put somebody in the database who has fractured a kid's skull and done a year in jail?
Well, maybe because they felt that he had paid the ultimate price. He got a dishonorable discharge. He got a year in jail.
Didn't do it, needs to go to jail themselves.
Well, so now they have to go back through all the records, dot all the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that everybody that they got convicted of a violent crime appears on this list.
Well, certainly we can do that. So it's always strange. So if someone does something and they're allegedly associated with ISIS, and then somebody else does something and kills even more people, but it's not ISIS, why is our reaction different? That's what I'd like someone to call in and say. I'd like somebody to call in and tell me, why is our reaction different? Because it's still lives. I mean, those families are devastated no matter who killed them.
Here's the example. In New York, when the guy ran over all the people with the bicycle,
Right.
on a bicycle route, right. 45 immediately responded with, because you did this, we're going to make it hard we're going to crack down on ISIS, we're going to hit them 10 times harder. And he demonized and villainized this situation
Right.
where this guy took lives.
Exactly.
Now, when you look at this guy, he really was radicalized just through social media.
Right.
And,
Nobody had ever talked to him. There's no connection.
So he really has no direct contact with ISIS, but he sees a way to become some type of martyr and be, attached to something that he got from off the internet. Instead of them explaining that we need to do more to police social media and what's being shown on social media and crack it down on the content, he started talking about the religion, Islam, and the people in general. But when this guy in Las Vegas, they don't look at his demographics, his environment, or anything else surrounding him. It's explained away with mental illness. I want to pivot from that to how the heroin epidemic versus the crack cocaine epidemic almost mirrors the same way things are described in language and in terms and labels.
Okay.
I myself am a person in long-term recovery. I came through the just smoking weed, drinking 40-ounce era, but in the late 80s, the country was introduced to crack cocaine. Many believe that it was put in our communities through to support the Iran-Contra arms deal.
Okay.
And that's just a theory that the cocaine.
I hate to go off your point because we have plenty of time to go to your point. Someone could put some in your community. Why do you think that we would be gullible enough to use it?
Because you got to be educated that this is danger. It was in a smokable form. And see, my rationalize to why you could get me to try it versus I wouldn't try heroin because it was injected. It was the way the form to use it, you had to use a needle. Now, I didn't even want to get my shots when I was in school, and they didn't use a needle, they used a gun. And I was the last person in school got his shot because I kept going to the end of the line. So when somebody talked to me about a needle, man, there's nothing you could describe to me that's inside that needle in that vial that's going to help Danny. I'm not going to do it. And most people in the community that I grew up in, heroin, we didn't know nobody to use needles. It was just unheard of. But it probably was someone doing it, but we just weren't aware of. But smoking cigarettes, see, that's where it begins at. Smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, smoking cocaine. So the process is the same. So there's no fear when you see your mama, your uncle, and your aunt smoking a cigarette. Well, they kill you, and they're not stopping smoking that. So when you get to the weed, you don't have any pushback or any fear that this is harmful when the adults smoking cigarettes. So when they put cocaine in a smokable form, not to put it on a table and crunch it up and roll it up in a dollar bill, ain't nobody finna use, back in the 80s, I'm not finna use my dollar bill to snort no drugs up in it. I'm gonna use my dollar bill to go buy something with. So the whole process of it was expensive. The powder form of cocaine, you just couldn't afford it. But when they made it in a smokable form, it was at least worth the try.
Okay, I got you. But what about when you saw that people smoking it destroyed their lives?
No. It didn't happen. I was the case study. My generation was the case study of the
But everybody
effects.
knew somebody. I
No.
So you didn't know anybody went down to
In
cocaine.
Texarkana, Texas, crack cocaine.
So y'all all went down at the same time.
No,
Nobody went down first.
We was unaware. It started. You gotta look at how it started. When
I know how it started.
It started on the West Coast.
But no, that's not what I'm saying. You could not have been the first person in Texarkana to do crack. So what I'm asking you is, everybody runs in groups.
Wasn't nobody before me.
You never saw anybody do crack and realize they already a crackhead.
No.
Because they say one hit, you're addicted. So you never saw that.
It took years before. Remember, it took society a while to understand what was going on. The police didn't even understand crack cocaine.
I understand the police, but I'm talking about when you know your neighbors do
it. Took years. See, it's progressive. When you first start.
Because I saw it early. I'm just saying.
It doesn't happen
when people
fast.
were doing powdered cocaine on the professional level, when I got out of college in the 80s, I knew of people like then that started snorting and snorting, and they didn't stop, and they stopped paying their bills. I mean, it started happening quickly. You saw it.
I think Vivian, you were around a group of people that income level allowed them to afford to experiment with cocaine. Me, I was in the military, and I just wasn't around the type of group of people that could afford to experiment with it. And then the boundaries around someone in the military doesn't allow you to interact in what's going on in the communities anymore. So I was cut off from my community when I joined the military out of high school, which is was a blessing, not a curse for me. But the curse came that my first duty station was Presidio, San Francisco, in an area where they was just starting to crack cocaine to figure out how to put it in sellable form where you didn't have to go buy the powder, buy the baking soda, and go home and cook it on the stove. So when I was first introduced to crack cocaine, you had to be almost a chemist. You had to know how to prepare it. Well, someone said, let's kill the process and make it where they can just drive through and get it.
Right.
They microwaved it.
Right.
And so instead of me having to go buy all these different ingredients to finally get home to figure out how to do this and without messing it up, because if you mess it up, you just mess up your money. Now you can go and somebody's already did the process and they just hand it to you. Now you can go immediately and use it. But there was no case study on the long-term effects of what cocaine does. And if it wasn't for me going to multiple treatments, seeing films, reading exactly what happens when you put.
Did you do that before prison or after?
I had an opportunity before I went to prison to receive treatment at the VA in 1987. And I didn't reach the criminal justice system until 1989. I had an opportunity to never go into the criminal justice system, even though I had been exposed to addiction. But it's a progressive disease that there's no cure for. And you have to.
So why didn't you take that opportunity since you knew that?
Well, I did. I found sobriety, but the thing about it is,
in 87
I learned how to stop.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. In 87, you found sobriety.
Right. I could stop, but the problem was I would restart. Stopping was easy. It's just I could never figure out how not to start again.
But the program, the treatment is supposed to help you figure that out.
Well, you have to do some work yourself.
Right.
So what they do is they introduce you to the ideas and suggestions and path.
It's not a 12-step process?
It is, but what they're showing you is that there's a group of people that have followed these steps that have sustained abstinence from using drugs and alcohol. Right. Here's a subscription when you leave a treatment center anywhere in the country. First thing I'll tell you is abstinence. If you never put it in your body, it's hard to get high. Second thing, you need to get out and find a support group, whether it's AA, NA. You need to change the people, places, and things in your life.
So I'm still in 87.
So I did that, but what I didn't do is I wasn't consistent at what I was doing to maintain my sobriety. And I wasn't aware of what triggers. You know what a trigger is? Trigger on a gun go like this here. When you pull it, it goes off. In recovery, what a trigger is, money. Money can be a trigger. So you're not thinking about getting high. You're being successful, you're doing all these things, you get paid, and you got money in your wallet, you pull it out, and the brain has such a great memory like an elephant. You pull the money out, and you look at the money, and it triggers a thought of what money can buy. Oh, I can buy a Big Mac, buy a Whataburger.
Pay your rent.
Or pay my rent.
Take care of your children.
I could go buy my
Take
wife
care of
some
your
flowers.
Right.
Or I could go get a 20. I can go buy $20 worth of dope. And that's not going to be a bad thing. No different than going buy a banana split from Sonic. I'm just going to go get my banana split. I'm going to eat my banana split and go home. I'm going to get my $20 worth of crack. I'm going to smoke it, and I'm going to go home. But see, the thing about it is, with crack cocaine, one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. So what they're saying is, the one will never be enough. And even if you had 1,000 hits, you still wouldn't satisfy the craving to want more. And it just...
So at some point in the recovery, to recover, you have to just say, fine, I'll just never do it again.
Anything. And then you have to accept this idea, and this is the tough one. And this is what I believe doing Whitney Houston. And I told someone, when she did an interview with Whitney Houston did an interview with Oprah Winfrey. And for those of y'all who don't know, crack cocaine eventually took her life. And the only thing can happen in addiction is you go to jail, you end up going to some type of institution for rehab, or you die. Those are the three options. So she told Oprah Winfrey, she said, Oprah said, Whitney, are you sober? She said, yes, I'm sober today, Oprah. Only thing I do is drink. And I said, that's not sobriety, because alcohol is a drug. It's in liquid form, but what it is when you have a drug of choice that's up here, you can't deal with lower level drugs because the brain gonna say, this ain't what we like. It's gonna lower your inhibitions, especially alcohol, because you know it relaxes you. So now your rational mind of resistance of saying, I've declared that I won't use again, is gone. And you find yourself going back to your drug of choice. I had to accept the fact that I wasn't an alcoholic, had no problem with alcohol, but it's a drug. And I can't compromise that.
And how'd you come to that realization?
Because I went to prison 3 times and spent 15 years there, and that cycle wasn't going to stop.
I mean, did alcohol trigger it for you, even though you didn't like alcohol?
Every time that I relapse, I can see alcohol or marijuana played a role into it. So
that's in hindsight. You can
it
see
was
that.
present.
Yeah, it was present. Okay.
In some type of form. And it's hard to accept that you can't drink when you can and don't have a problem with it. I had never had a tolerance for drinking a lot of alcohol because I'm kind of a hype person, and that's why cocaine was a better fit for how I am, because it just gave me more energy on top of more energy. But alcohol kind of makes you a laid-back person. I ain't trying to be laid back. I'm trying to make the party pop. I'm trying to make, with the people drinking, sitting back, chilling, relaxing, watching a person like me on the dance floor turning flips. They just sitting there sipping, chilling. They ain't finna turn no flips, spin on their head and all that. I'm about to pop locking, break dancing, and they don't go together. Because I didn't like sleeping, never liked sleeping. I stay up as long as I could. And when you drink, you sleep. And you ever met someone that don't like sleeping? Like, dang, I slept. I gotta go to sleep. It's like I don't have a choice. That has changed at my age now.
What?
Now I'm like the kids in the kindergarten. I put my little mallet down, my little pallet down there, and I take a nap.
Wow.
Without being told to.
Wow. So tell me, since you deal with people who are addicted to cocaine, and cocaine, was a crackdown on cocaine, a lot of families were destroyed by people going to jail for being addicts, basically, not being a big pusher man. How do you feel, knowing you gave 15 years, that now with opiates, the push now is not to go to prison, but to try to help them, treatment, and figure out how to help them?
I think it's...
I know help is a good thing, but I'm just saying, how do you...
It's a divisive issue again. Here it is during the crack epidemic. It was described as war on drugs. What is a war? When you go to war against something, you're not coming in talking about, you want to go to treatment? Mm-hmm. When you go to war with weapons. So when they came in our communities, they didn't come in saying, who want to go to treatment? How many of y'all want to find recovery? How many of y'all want to go on the AA van we got going out at 6 o'clock? They came in with the battle rams, pushing down doors and coming in and taking everybody to jail. Mamas, the kids were being displaced, and nobody in the country felt that was a bad thing because they labeled it war on drugs.
Yeah,
but it was a referendum on people and families. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with the drugs. It allowed them to not to deal with the drugs, but to deal with people. So now we have this certain group of people that are being affected by heroin, opiates. And
some of them are prescription too.
See, this is where it started. See, the heroin, it didn't start with heroin. The opiates led people to the heroin because they're both the same. So when they couldn't get to the pills, it led them to the heroin because it's cheap. I didn't know the heroin is cheap. It's not expensive, but it's deadly. And so a lot of these communities that I'm watching, that has been affected is because they don't have a lot of jobs. They're low-income areas.
Well, I can tell you this about the opiates. I researched it because I was upset when Prince died. And so I researched it recently, and apparently taking too much of these opiates actually cuts off your breathing. I mean,
Yeah.
it actually sedates you such that it cuts off it actually kills you.
It relaxes you so much
That you can die.
that you so relaxed you don't even breathe.
Yeah, I didn't know why is it killing people, but I read up that it's actually relaxing your body so much that if you get too relaxed, you die. I mean, your overdose is a state of relaxation, and people want more and more and more and if they stop for a little while, they said if they start trying to rehab and say they get off of it for 3 or 4 months, then if they relapse, they'll try to take as much as they were taking when they stopped 3 months ago, but the body has to be introduced to it slowly again. So if they were taking 5 pills and they stopped and they start back, they'll take 5 again,
right.
But they really can only take 1 because they started with 1.
Right.
So the tolerance is built up, and so then they introduce it to themselves, and then that 5, now they've lost the tolerance, and so then their bodies just shut down and die.
Right.
So I heard that that's how they're actually dying. I was amazed. I read about it. It was amazing to me to know that my childhood hero, Prince, in that big old museum, that mansion that he's living in by himself, studio, killed himself by himself because he is overcompensating, taking too much dope.
That's why
taking too much of a prescription drug.
That's why it's such a joy every day that I'm giving, because there I was.
It could happen to you.
I mean, there I was. Look, suicide is something when someone takes a weapon, they put it to you. But in the world of crack addiction, every time that you do that, you risk a heart attack.
You are.
Because
or it could be or it could be cut with something that's deadly.
And you know what? You never give it a thought that it's a bullet in this chamber this time when I pull the trigger. But that's the insanity part about it. That's the disease part about it. That's the treatable part about it. It's treatable. It's treatable. You don't have to die. There's help. But you have to be open to the ideas and suggestions of people that are studied in this area or someone that has long-term recovery.
Right.
I got a call just today from someone in my hometown, and I get calls often, Vivian, from former classmates, wives of husbands, and based on that I've been in long-term recovery since 2004, someone say, well, I know a person that struggled for most of his life with addiction that somehow found a way to recovery. You need to connect with him. And I tell them all the same thing. There's no cure. This is a daily thing. I'm doing the same thing in my life today that I did back in 2004 that got me sober back then. So I'm focused, disciplined, and consistent in recovery. I made it my lifestyle because I had 2 other choices. I could spend the rest of my life in prison or institution or
dead.
And I didn't like those options. And another thing, if I ask someone, if someone say, why did you get sober for my family? I'm about to lose the car. You can never, ever, ever get sober for someone else. Because the reason why we're in our addiction is it's a self-destructive behavior, meaning I have no self-love for myself if I'm doing myself like this. So if I don't love me.
But don't you think that, I mean, that's a hindsight way of thinking of it. Don't you think that when you're doing it, it's all about self-love? It's like, I enjoy getting high, so I'm going to take the rent money from my family and get high. I think
it's a selfish act.
I think it's a selfish act. I think people are being selfish enough to say, I want to do what makes me feel good. So I think it's actually more selfish.
It is, but there's no love in it. Because, see, one thing about cocaine, it attacks a part of the brain that doesn't allow you to have that emotion.
Well, that's what you say when you read about it, but how did you feel when you were doing it? You didn't think that when you were doing it?
No, see, what I'm saying is this.
So what I'm saying is,
I
guess I'd like hearing how it made you feel.
Soulless.
Because otherwise, you're just saying what's in a book that everybody knows, but everybody doesn't have your experience.
It made me soulless and lack of any spiritual awareness that I had.
What about your family? You had a family. So what are you thinking about them? Like, I can either pay for this for my family or I can go get high for me. So isn't that a selfish decision?
It was, but I lost my ability to have empathy or compassion for the people around me. Drugs cut the ability to feel that emotion was cut off. That's an emotion. I got to connect to that emotion to take the action on it. But if that emotion is not there, I couldn't act out on it. That's what was so crazy about, like, man, that was the frustrating part about it is you lose your identity to the person you was. You are a lost soul. And until you...
I mean, do you remember what you were telling yourself? Are you telling yourself that, hey...
I'm fighting.
I mean, what battle are you fighting?
I'm fighting that it's like I'm watching myself outside of myself and saying, man, don't do it. Like, man, this is a bad idea.
Walk away. You couldn't just walk away?
Like, think about how bad you're gonna feel and how they're gonna. I think I worried about the criticism, how you viewed. Like, once it was people aware that you're a drug addict, for me, self-image did matter. And that just made me more ways to try to disguise it. Like, now I gotta really come up with a masquerade. Now my mask gotta be really good. So I would work real hard, have four jobs to compensate for someone figuring out, oh, you still getting high. But it's hard to maintain it. You know, you try, that's just my personal experience. I just tried to live in both worlds, and I wasn't able to live in both worlds, where I could walk around you and hey, Dan, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Where you going? Oh, I'm finna go over here and play some chess, and I go somewhere and I get high. And when you see me again, my skin is kind of grayish and ashy, and then like, Dan, you losing weight? Oh yeah, I'm working out. Like,
so it was just an excuse for everything.
I'm
just like you are now, but it's on the positive tip. Because that's a change. That changed. You got an excuse for everything now.
Okay, I told a person, I was very motivated and passionate and consistent in doing bad things. When I changed my life, only thing I had to do was take all that energy and all the things I was doing on this side, I was still the same person.
Right, right.
So that was a good thing for me. I was consistent. That's why I went to prison 3 times, because I'm consistent. I got out, shoot, I got to go back.
Back faking.
Because I'm consistent. I'm focused.
You focused.
You know what I'm saying?
Focused, all right.
I'm going to get high. I don't figure out a way to do it this time the right way. And then I was like, this ain't working.
3 times, 15 years, that's a long time.
So I created a new purpose and said, you know what? Okay, y'all won 3 times. That's good enough for me. I quit. I give. I surrender. Y'all win.
Yeah.
You know, I'm tired of living in a restroom with another man they call a prison cell. I miss church's chicken. I ain't had no chicken in a long time. They don't give us pizza. I miss our birthdays. I got kids out there. That's sad. Another man raising my kids. And I would get angry thinking that another man, and I would say, write my sister, is they calling him daddy? Don't let my kids call another man daddy. I'm gonna be a boy. If I get out and my kids call another man daddy in front of me, it's gonna be a problem. And you know what?
What?
I did that, and I had a problem. When I got out, the first thing I started addressing with my children is, you can't. I have a problem with that. That's not your father. I don't know. And then I wanted to not attack, but confront their mother. Like, when did you come up with the idea to start saying it's okay for these kids to stop calling this man and call him daddy?
Let me just ask a question. Just get outside of your feelings and for a moment. That's why it sounds selfish. So let me just say this. What about your children who want to have a daddy like everybody else? Well, so children will call someone daddy out of their own because everybody else has a daddy at school. Everybody's talking about mommy and daddy. So kids will start calling people daddy and mommy so that they can feel like everybody else.
You know, Vivian, that sounds so good, But man, no man.
So that's why I said that the
sound
drug
good.
and the thing is selfish, because I think I'm the type of person, and I've come to realize there's not many people like that I really would understand if my kids did that. If my kids call someone else mama, and I know I didn't care enough about being their mama to be in jail, I would just let that slide. And I would say, at least they got to have a mama.
But you can't change how you react when you hear that word.
Right.
Like
no, you just got to feel better to do better. You just got to do better. It would motivate me to do better.
Well, maybe that had a lot to do with it. But
But I wouldn't take their pleasure of calling somebody daddy away. I would want to, or mommy, I would want to work hard so that they would want to call me daddy.
I still had to go through some things and let go of some things. And in working with others as a life coach and a recovery coach, one thing I'll address and say, what we have to do is be accountable for not who we are, but what we did. Not who we are, but what did we do? And let's take out a pen and paper
just think how wonderful
and write down what we did.
I just want to get back on that. Just think how wonderful it is you had somebody to call daddy. I mean, didn't you want to call somebody daddy growing up?
Yeah, and then that helps me lose my argument. And if you didn't, say why I was angry.
I'm just saying, because then you wanted.
Because I had a stepfather.
Yeah, but you wanted to call him daddy, didn't you?
I did.
That's what I'm saying, and it wasn't because he told you to. It was really he allowed you to, because you wanted. If you got back into those feelings as a kid, you wanted to have what everybody else had.
Yeah.
So you did it. I mean, the kids do it. I've had kids. I've known of foster kids who have called my friends who are foster mothers mommy. And they knew who their mommy was, but they wanted to have a mommy like everybody else.
So what fueled the recidivism is blaming and not focusing on why I was there versus what was going on out there that I couldn't control.
Believe it or not, Danny, we have 1 minute.
Oh. So did we address the veterans?
No, but you can do it quickly.
Okay. I want to thank you for your service. We got thousands and thousands of veterans still serving overseas in many different countries. And we want to let you know that we love you and we support you and thank you for your service. Veterans Day is going to be observed February 11th, this Saturday.
No, November.
November the 11th. I'll be going Facebook Live and eating at all the free restaurants all over the city.
All right. And so because it's next Saturday, November the 11th, I want to congratulate and thank you to all of the veterans also. We appreciate you. We know that you're all over the world in places we don't even know about, but we want to let you know we're happy to be free Americans because of you and your volunteer service. Thank you very much. And we had a good little ad hoc show tonight talking about all the hot topics and current events. And we also want to close by saying, how about those Stros?
Hey, Houston.
How about those Stros?
Houston strong.
Houston strong. How about those Stros? Thank you for watching Truth and Justice, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Well, actually, we'll see you after Thanksgiving. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where